Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Sam World and today... Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Sam World and today we're going to be tackling future bass sounds for the complete guide to master Serum. Again, we're at that part of the series where we're gaining experience. We're using our knowledge to create some dope sounds, guys. And today we're doing future bass. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to create the future bass saws, some keys, and an 808 bass for future bass. So in essence, let's get started. The first thing, guys, is that when it comes to future bass, you got to have the right chords, or else it's not going to sound proper. You know, a lot of people make these sounds and they don't hear the result. And a lot of times it's due to the chord progressions that you have. So make sure you got some big chords going. You know, right now I have Ableton's chord feature with a scale running at +3, +7, and +15 to get... Okay. From here, it's time to get started. So we're going to be using both oscillators. Okay, now the key with the future bass sound, guys, is the attack. And honestly, a lot of times I get a question asked on how to make this sound. So it's all in the attack. You want to set up the attack properly for whatever you're trying to create. Here, for instance, we can do that, and then we can give it a bit of release. And that release is going to give us that nice little flume flutter, like when he first started making future bass and everyone was like, how the hell did he make that sound? The release here, pretty much the attack is fast. However, we do get a little bit of an attack to it, you know, how the sound comes in. And then the release has a bit of a tail, so that way when we let go, we have a little bit of that. The key is to play it very fast so that release has a chance to really shine. Okay? With the Lineum style chords, the difference here is going to be by giving it a little bit more attack. And then applying supersaws here, like not so detuned, but just it's enough. We get a nice, warm, full sound. Here we can lower this one down an octave if you want to capture more frequency spectrum by open voicing it. That's just spreading out the sound. Okay, let's go up an octave high. Okay, here we're going to apply a filter just to get rid of some of the high. The highs of the Supersaw aren't the greatest, so I do recommend you add a noise and then find a good one. Like the bright white is pretty good, and add it yourself. Okay, from here, all we really need to do is just EQ out the low. Here, maybe not open voice. Okay, you can detune more if you want more of a, you know, lush sound. But from here, you really just want to add reverb. Okay, and then if you want to add OTT, go for it. It does sound good with Supersaws. You just got to be really careful. Okay, the OTT has a distinct sound to it that I kind of don't like for this stuff. I feel like without it, you're fine. But some people I've seen do add it and with good result. From here, you can mess around with different effects, guys. Like you can add a bit of chord. Okay, you can add a flange if you want to get that vibe. You can add a bit of distortion. Just be careful with it. Okay. Distortion with multiple notes playing never sounds good. Okay, so once you have this, you know, and then you put a proper kick and layer maybe another supersaw with it, it's going to sound really great. Now, we do have other variations to this as well, and we don't really need to change much. The first thing is we can lower down the sustain, lower decay, lower release, maybe to around 15 milliseconds so we don't get that. So this is more of that little flutter. Okay, here we can apply a filter. Let's put the noise in there as well, and then here we can. You know, so we get those nice little flutters that they tend to use. If you want to make it long. And then if you want to add the release, as you know. Okay, you can mess around with that, okay? Now, different variations to this, of course, guys, it's just going to be switching up the sounds you're using. Like, for instance, if I go with a more effect and I switch this sound up, of course, we're going to get a different tone out of it. But as long as you know how to program the sound and then you just start experimenting with what you know, you're going to get great sounds. The key thing is always the attack, your decay. You know, for instance, let's assume here that I want to create something weird. Let's say I'm like, oh, I want to find a unique sound. What can I do? One of the things we can do maybe is use like FM synthesis, which is not something I see a lot in Future Bass, maybe for a good reason, but we can try it as well and just have this. Maybe we don't even need it. It has a unique sound. I'm just pushing it too hard. Let's try maybe sine wave to sine. You know, in essence, don't be afraid to also use just random wave tables for. And then for sure, as you guys know, the warps are a great way to add movement to a sound. So for sure, don't leave those out. Maybe a bit of sync can work. You never know. You know, wavetables have different wavetable positions, different vibes. So you can make the sound evolve that way. Here we can maybe add like a bend minus or plus. Make this look complicated. Okay, so those are some cool things we can do. Now, another thing is we don't have to use the envelope here. We can leave this high, sustain up, and all you want, and then you can apply the LFO to these guys here, which is a very popular way to do it as well, as a lot of people don't know how to use ADSR properly. And I think a lot of people can justify here, like, however this looks at the top, max volume, so we can put the trig on so that way. Okay, here. You know, and we can kind of move it around if that's what you're into. Another cool trick that I see a lot as well is starting from here. And then we can use an envelope with a decay. Set that this way. Reach your max here and where you want it to go from. And then from there, we can also add a pitch to that in reverse. So that way, the sound sounds like it's coming from the depths of hell. As I like to think of it. With the decay, you're going to control how long it takes. Okay. As you can see, we're getting a lot of nice stuff there. So again, when it comes to it, as long as you know how to program these sounds and you have your own way, maybe it's the LFO route or whatnot, you will be good when it comes to the Future Bass Supersaws. Remember, guys, you have a lot of stuff to your advantage. You have mist, comb filters, flanges. You're going to have ring mods. Play around with all that stuff to get some unique sounds. But the most important thing is to learn how to do the basic popular sound so that you can refine it and break the rules a bit and utilize different stuff to make your own unique sounds when it comes to it. Like, for instance, if I wanted to add a down sample to give it a little nice high end, sounds pretty cool. I would just find a way to make that a little less noticeable. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing, which are going to be keys. Now, when it comes to keys, guys, keys are pretty easy to do. Essentially, keys are plucks. However, The thing that makes a key different from a pluck is going to be the fact that the decay is a little bit longer, and you're going to have a bit of release there so that it sounds more like a... let's get rid of here the chords real fast. It's going to sound like that. Now, making keys, a lot of the times keys, you want them to be really warm, not as open. So one of the things I recommend you do first, your first key, if you've never made one, utilize 2 sine waves. Close one down. We're going to use a bit of FM, and we're going to put this. You're going to get like the Yamaha DX7 electric piano. Okay, it sounds really beautiful. Maybe we can increase the FM a bit. Play some chords. I'm messing up. Okay, but you get the idea there. From there, it's just processing it. As you guys know, reverb, delay. Now, if you don't want that release, just lower. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, let's add a little bit of a nice delay here. Maybe a ping pong since it's mono. Okay, now here, as you guys know, FM ratio. Now we're starting to get really nice kind of keys that you tend to hear in modern future bass because it's starting to get a little bit more chill. Okay, from here, let's assume you want this. But you think it sounds too open, you can also use the filter to your advantage. As you know, we can utilize this here to... Okay, that's going to be the first key you ever make, possibly, because not a lot of people like to make keys, or they don't know. They just consider them leads or synths. But in essence, a key is going to be something like that you can play nice little chords with. It's like an electric piano. Think of it that way. Here you can also just lower this down. Okay, very nice key. From here, there's really not much for me to say. You guys already know the gist of applying different wavetables. Don't be afraid to go with the classic shapes. I mean, you can never go wrong with You know, a lot of people also like to make these nice little keys like San Holo, which are a little bit like square plug. We're going to add this here. We're going to get rid of. Let's get rid of this delay here. Okay, and then from there we can just lower this down, apply the pitch here. So, you know, kind of like video gaming sounds if you think about it. Let's get rid of the decay here a little lower so it doesn't get that nice, that little sound. We can go with the H. Like that one. You can also utilize a sine wave. And then maybe we can distort it. Okay, to make cartoony sound. So have fun with that. The reverb is a bit too much. But that's how we're going to create those squares and all that. Now let's move on to the last one, guys, which is going to be the 808 bass. Now, making an 808 bass, once you know how to do it, you will never forget, just like riding a bike. Essentially, you want to use a sine wave, and then you can also switch it up and use a square and whatnot, but I'll show you how to do it with those. In essence, an 808 is going to be pretty much a dump from your sine wave. Playing low octave, of course, -3. And then the attack and release is where it's at. So essentially, we want to kind of have a decay and a long release. Of course, we want some mono legato there. Put the R face down to 0. You know, with bass line. Okay, first 808 you've ever made, hopefully. But key things here is that it's envelope 3. You can control this decay. If you want it more thumpy, so it's not so, you can kind of just increase the decay a bit more. Here you can also just have always off and then have a, so you get that nice little sound there. Here you can increase this up so you get more of a higher knock. You usually don't hear it though, because a lot of times you will sidechain to the kick that you have, but in essence, an 808, you can have that there. Okay, from here, you can distort. Okay, here, let's make this a. So here, you don't have to have a high release, you can have a sustain. So if you want that low, that 808 to be long, you can have a sustain and then a release, so that way you get that nice little sound from it. Now, you can also utilize like more saturated versions of the sine so that, you know, you can hear it at lower keys like C and D, low C, low D. Now, let's say you want to use a square, which is fine, but then it's going to sound like this. You make sure you utilize a filter. That way you get that nice sound. You can also open this up a bit, the filter. Just make sure not to open it up too high up where you start to hear the higher harmonics of that square. And that's how you make an 808 bass. Now, if you want to make just a standard Future Bass bass, you can just increase the sustain, the release. And now you have that. The other one that they use a lot as well is the respace, which is going to be 2 saws. We've made this. You made the Supersaw before. And then run both of them through. This one's good for more of the darker stuff, and of course it's a hip-hop sound that they use a lot. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope now you know how to make Future Bass sounds. And again, if you're watching this series, if you followed all the videos, if you're serious about making your own sounds, whatever it may be for, just keep at it, guys. With experience, everything comes. Experience makes you a better sound designer, because the more you practice making these sounds, the more you experiment, the more you're going to create sounds that you will probably hear in music and go like, I made a sound like that before. I know how to make that. That's how you get that way. That's how you learn how to recreate sounds, with experience, guys. But with that being said, guys, you guys take care and peace out.